Hello there! So, the new Tyrant dragons have been revealed as of this morning, and it turns out that we are going to be getting, similarly to ancient events, a light-themed Tyrant event for our first Tyrant event. Nothing really makes that very obvious from, like, the website or anything else, but if we take a look at each of these dragons, we do know what their elements are now, and all of them have the light element, which means that they're obviously going with a specific elemental theme for the events again, which I actually think is a really bad thing personally, but I'm sure I'll get into that in a little while. But either way, these are the new Tyrant dragons, so you can see these for yourself. The first one we've got is Armored Phasm, which is a Tyrant, Light, and Wind dragon. Next up, we have Demonia, which we already saw from the teaser, or the explanation for what the Tyrant element is. Demonia being a Tyrant, Light, and Shadow dragon, so a Tyrant version of, say, like the Sumo dragon. Next up, we have Prisma, which is a Tyrant, Light, and Void dragon. We have Aurum Lumen, which is a Tyrant, Light, and Energy dragon. And finally, one that has caught the attention of many, we have Tyrannos, who is a Tyrant, Legendary, and Light dragon. So the reason that this guy in particular caught a lot of people's attention is one, yeah, his design's pretty cool, but mainly the fact that they are including Legendary as one of the secondary elements, which we've never actually seen before. Maybe Gameloft has finally accepted that the Legendary element isn't good, and therefore they are capable of putting it as another element. Unfortunately for Tyrannos, this makes him really bad, because since Legendary is a bad element, because the level 6 upgrades suck, it makes Tyrannos that much more useless. That is assuming that we don't get any updates to the Legendary element, which there's still time. It's possible that they could have changed the Legendary skill or, buffed it or anything. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but in current DML meta with how Legendary is, this makes Tyrannos quite useless. I mean, yeah, we've got the Tyrant element and the Light element, but having Legendary in there, and plus we don't have anything like Fire, Water, or Earth if we still have dungeon-based events, it's gonna make him pretty useless for dungeon grinding. But again, we don't actually have confirmation that dungeon is going to be part of the main event, so this is with our current information. DML could be changing a lot, and because we've got information on the new grid style of event, but nothing about dungeon or anything like that being involved, who knows, you could pick up Tyrannos and use him, but I still don't think he's a very good option, personally. And then the other dragons, we've got that Light and Wind. It's not great. Then we've got Light and Shadow. It's not good. Then we've got Light and Void. It's bad. The most of these are pretty terrible elemental combinations. Then the final one that we've got is Aurum Lumen, which in current meta I think would be one of the most useful ones. It would basically be a Tyrant version of, say, like Zeus, and that's the only thing it would really be useful for, just because it's like super high damage. And, Tyrant element, if it does end up getting used in teams, at least then we've got like 2 AoE abilities as well. But I don't know. I feel like this was a really bad way for them to start off these Tyrant events. Like, really? We picked Light of all of them? I don't know who's been talking to Gameloft. Maybe they just did it for the dragon design so that they could add like nice little white sparkles, but it's really, really underwhelming, to be honest. These elements in particular, and also, I'm not a massive fan of Prisma. I'm not a massive fan of Aurum Lumen's design. Tyrannos is fine. Armored Phasm is okay, but this new body type, it just makes them look like they're farting. I'm sorry. I know it's meant to be based on some sort of gorilla stance, but he just looks like he has pooped his pants. I know he doesn't have any pants, which makes it even weirder, but that's all I can see in this body type now, and it will not leave my mind. Anyway, that's a personal issue for me, but this elemental-based event stuff, I don't think it was a good thing to begin with, because, I mean, going towards the latter half of the ancient events, like the final few, we kept getting other ancients that weren't, or they didn't have elements from that event, and those were the main ones that people wanted. So bringing out tyrants like this, it feels like they've gone a step backwards again. Like, it's like they started improving the ancient events for this, and now we've gone back to it again for God knows what reason, and we're even throwing useless elements on the major reward, or what looks to be the major reward dragon. So I'm pretty disappointed with this personally. Maybe you're really excited, and if you are, I am very happy for you. But this has made me not interested in this upcoming Tyrant event, but depends on what else they bring out. Speaking of other news with this, we did get a big set of text, when was it, a couple of days ago, well, yesterday actually, and there wasn't really a whole lot of information. However, one thing that we did get confirmed was this thing about Dragon Grid, which I did make a community post about, but they said we couldn't introduce an all-new storyline event without something new to play with. Dragon Grid will be the main gameplay element through which players can collect Tyrant tickets, unravel the Lost Tyrant storyline, and earn themselves extra rewards. We'll be revealing everything about this new event later this week, but some of you have already correctly guessed that a recent social media post was a tease of what's to come with the Dragon Grid. This is something I'm not happy about either, because what they're actually talking about is an event type which has the exact same name in Dragon City that looks like this. And if you saw their Facebook post recently, you'll see that they didn't actually make it look that different. This here is what they're talking about, where it said plan your route, and you'll see that this was like a grid-based format, and they basically asked you to use basic math to find your way to the chest. And if you compare that to the Dragon City event, it looks very similar. And the reason that I am not a fan of this, if it ends up being anything like the Dragon City one, the Dragon City event version, is because this is one of the least interesting, most boring, worst DC events that DC has. For all the good things and the better things that Dragon City has over DML, they've chosen to copy the name even from one of the worst Dragon City events, and it really just it is mind-boggling to me why they would do that. And they also said in their Discord post that the things that we would get from this would be Tyrant tickets. So we're just getting tickets from the Dragon Mania Legends version of this event. We're not even getting dragons. Whereas in Dragon City, you will get dragons for getting to a certain part in the grid. Just whole full dragons. We're not getting that in DML. We're just getting tickets. So we're not even getting the rewards that we would get in Dragon City, even though the Dragon City version isn't a particularly interesting one. I don't know what DML are doing right now, but it's like everything they're doing is the complete opposite of what they need to do to get players reinvested in this game. For me, this just screams boring if it's anything like this. But, again, if they do change some things and somehow add some cool mechanics that Dragon City doesn't have, you know, I will be more than happy to play it, potentially. But if it's even remotely similar to Dragon City or anything similar to what they posted on this social media post, I'm not gonna be particularly fond of it, and I don't think other players will either. It's gonna be like Treasure Hunt if it's like that, but even more boring. And I'm not a fan of Treasure Hunt, same as many people, but yeah, I'd love to say that I'm feeling positive about these event things. I'm not. I'm really, really not. And I've been here since week 1 of DML being a game. Like, I started playing in January 2015. I've seen every single event that the game has ever had. This isn't it. This isn't what's gonna make me care about this game again. But anyway, I guess I got slightly distracted there. We know the new characters, Portia, Penans, and Paulo, or I should say Paulo. And we've got all the new Tyrant dragons that are due to come in now. It's just, I don't know, I'm really not feeling DML's route taking at the moment. Like, I get that they want to keep releasing new elements and new dragons and things like that to keep people invested, and they'll give us these preview images, but it's just not enough because Arena's still broken completely for everyone. The events that we get are incredibly boring. Like, I'm so sick of Dragon's Delights and solo events, and this just is gonna be another really boring event type. And then we've still got other parts of the game that aren't fixed. Like, just enchantment in general is just not... Are we ever going to address all of the major problems that are in the game, or are we just going to keep ignoring them? Treasure Hunt as an entire event was a complete mess, and lots of people just do not like it at all because it's a complete RNG fest, and you can't get both reward dragons without spending. Like, I don't know, I know that there's been a new team that's come in. I don't think they're saving this game. It's like, yeah, the designs for some of the dragons are still neat. I've never had an issue really with the art team, but the actual gameplay of this game is becoming so incredibly bad that I really can't stress enough just how much better its direct competitors are. Dragon City is better. Pokemon is worlds better. Slime Rancher is worlds better. Any sort of collecting game that you can play is just becoming infinitely better than DML. I don't know what to say about it anymore. I'm just... I'll wait to see this event. If it's not interesting, then I don't know. I think they're gonna lose a lot of people because releasing, especially as a light event with such awful secondary elements, this was a bad choice. Sorry, Gameloft. That's my take. People can disagree with me. That's fine. I just really think that this was not the best way to release these new Tyrants. But hey, I'm not on the development team. It's not my choice. I just wish this game was interesting, honestly. It isn't right now.